How's it going, folks? Mike Murtis, Gamer Logic here, and today I wanted to talk about my memories of the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past comic that was serialized in all 1992 issues of Nintendo Power, and then the following year had a complete collection released via the Nintendo Power Super Power Club. Say that fast 3 times. So what's my excitement about wanting to talk about these Legend of Zelda comics? Well, it was announced back in January that Viz Media will be reprinting this collection for the first time in years. And what's great, it's available for $20 or even under that. Hell, if you go to Amazon right now, I think you can get the thing for $13, which is a steal. Now, it's funny because that 1993 graphic collection of these comics has been out of print for a long time and is pretty up there in price. I know I've looked on eBay and other places several times. $50 for a really beat up copy of this thing, $200 for supposedly mint. Just not something I want to pay for, especially considering I still have all my 1992 issues of Nintendo Power. But now I can actually get it for a decent price, so you can bet your ass that I am going to pick this up and already have it pre-ordered on Amazon.com. So let's go back though. Let's go back to 1992 and discuss why it was so cool to be able to check out these Zelda comics. Now, this wasn't the first time we had a Zelda comic series. No, there was another Zelda comic series out there, as well as Super Mario comics, Captain N, and a whole bunch of other Nintendo characters actually. And I believe these were from Valiant Comics, and they produced a Legend of Zelda series that was okay. The artwork was kind of hit or miss. The stories were cheesy, just not very good overall. Now, enter 1992, and I myself still do not have a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That means that I am not enjoying Link's latest adventure in Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. However, my parents were nice enough for my birthday to get me my first 12-month subscription to Nintendo Power magazine. And I was pretty excited about that because from the very few issues I had off the newsstand, I very much loved the magazine. And to be honest, I was still pretty pissed that my parents missed out on the chance for me to get a free Dragon Warrior game the few years before, if you would have subscribed to Nintendo Power. So, we get to April, right around my birthday, and what arrives in the mailbox? This issue of Nintendo Power right here. WWF Super WrestleMania on the cover. Hulk Hogan. I could care less about Hulk Hogan at the time. But I opened up this book and I turned right to the Zelda comic. Right in the middle. 4 episodes, 4 issues in to this comic series. And I looked in amazement, because not only was this my first way to be able to experience a Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in some degree, but this was my first exposure to basically manga artists. The manga artist who did this, and his name completely escapes me at the moment, and I probably butchered the pronunciation of it anyway, was a tremendous artist, and the artwork was amazing in this, and very much so captured the essence of what The Legend of Zelda should be. So as I'm going through this issue, I'm reading Link and, witnessing his adventure to try to get all the pendants necessary to get the Master Sword. And of course it ends on a cliffhanger, and it's to be continued. And this just gets me pumped up to check out the rest of this fantastic series. And here I am going, oh man, I wish my parents would have did the Nintendo Power subscription for me like back in December of the previous year, because it would have started me in January and I would have seen what would have happened to Link and why he's doing what he's doing, why he's looking for this Master Sword in the first place. 1 week later, I will never forget this. This was an awesome day. My mom calls me over. She just got the mail and she said, "Michael, I have some mail for you." And what was there? The January issue of Nintendo Power with Super Castlevania 4 on the cover. The February issue of Nintendo Power with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Manhattan Project on it. And the March issue with, can you guess what? A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on it. I dove into those issues from the start of the story from issue 1 to where I was at currently with issue 4, and I absolutely became enthralled with the Zelda series again. Great artwork, great story, and yeah, it took some liberties with what the main story of A Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past actually was from the Super Nintendo version, but it all made a lot of sense, and it added some depth to the actual series itself. And from that point onward, now that I was all caught up, I couldn't wait to get my next issue of Nintendo Power in May, in June, in July, and finally in December we got to the climax of this wonderful series. And I can remember coming home and getting the issue in the afternoon and opening it up, and my dad had Megadeth Symphony of Destruction playing, and I'm reading this as Link is fighting Ganon to a duel to the death, and it was just awesome. I'll never forget that moment. And then I got to the end, and I got pretty sad because I was like, well, what are they going to do next year? Are they going to keep doing these Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past comics, or is that it? I was really sad that these were starting to finish up and that we probably weren't going to see them anymore. Well, 1993 came, the January issue of 1993 came, and there was no comics in it. And it kind of broke my heart, to be absolutely honest with you. I mean, I even would have settled for a Super Mario Brothers comic continuation at that point because, and I haven't even mentioned it, during the run of these 1992 Zelda comics, there was also a Mario comic as well. Was it as good as Zelda? No, it had its moments, but the Zelda comic was what meant the most to me. So I was bummed out for 1993 until the February issue of Nintendo Power hit, and they introduced the Star Fox comic, and that was another favorite of mine. Very well written out. It fleshed out the storyline of Fox McCloud and the Star Fox team. Just really cool. And eventually, the year after that, we also had a Super Metroid comic. Those were all awesome. And I'm really hoping with the fact that when this issue, this collection of the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past comes out by Viz Media, that they are looking to get into checking out the Super Mario Brother comic that was in Nintendo Power and Super Metroid, as well as Star Fox. They never did a collection of the Star Fox comics, and they never did a collection of Super Metroid. And there's a huge Metroid fan base out there. There is a huge Star Fox fan base out there. At least I think there is. I think those would sell like gangbusters for Viz Media, and hopefully they pick it up. Now, there's one way we could probably help get the momentum for that, and that is to contact Viz Media via social media, via their website, and tell them, I want the Super Mario Brothers comics. I want the Star Fox comics. I want the Super Metroid comics. If the word gets out there that people are interested, and you know Zelda right now is pre-ordering like hotcakes on Amazon, then maybe they'll get smart and they'll put those out too. And you guys will be able to see some of the missing adventures in some of these great game series. And for others like me, it'll be a revisit to greatness and a really great point in my life where things were just a lot simpler and sometimes a lot more fun. Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed a look at the comic series itself. And